You know what? Sometimes life has a funny way of teaching people lessons. And boy, did I learn that the hard way. My name is Maya, and I'm about to tell you a story that still gives me chills when I think about it. It all started 3 years ago when I was just a regular girl with big dreams and empty pockets. I had this crazy idea to start my own bakery. I know, everyone thinks they can bake, right? But trust me, my chocolate chip cookies could make grown men cry tears of joy. The problem was, I needed money, like a lot of money. Opening a bakery isn't cheap. You need ovens and mixers, a storefront, ingredients, and about 1,000,000 other things. I had saved up some cash from my job at the grocery store, but it wasn't nearly enough. So I did what any normal person would do. I went to the bank to ask for a loan. Now, here's where things get interesting. The bank I chose wasn't just any bank. It was First National Bank of Millbrook, the same bank where my late grandmother used to work as a cleaning lady for 30 years. She always told me stories about the fancy people who worked there, how they looked down on her because she was just the help. I remember walking into that marble lobby, my hands shaking as I clutched my business plan. The place was huge, with these massive columns and chandeliers that probably cost more than my entire life savings. Everything smelled like expensive perfume and fresh leather. I waited for what felt like hours before they called my name. Maya Enriquez, a snooty voice called out. I looked up to see this woman in a perfect suit, her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Her name tag said, Mrs. Patricia Williams, Senior Loan Officer. That's me, I said, standing up quickly and smoothing down my best dress, the one I wore to my high school graduation. She looked me up and down like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. Follow me, she said, clicking her heels on the marble floor. We walked into this glass office where 2 other people were waiting. One was a man in his 50s, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. The other was a younger guy, maybe in his 30s, with the kind of smug smile that made you want to slap it right off his face. This is Mr. Harrison, our branch manager, Mrs. Williams said, pointing to the older man. And this is Mr. Kent, our business development specialist. I sat down in the chair across from them, feeling like I was in a job interview for a position I'd never get. My business plan was in a simple folder, nothing fancy, just my dreams typed out on regular paper. So, Mr. Harrison said, leaning back in his chair, you want to open a bakery? Yes, sir, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I've been baking since I was little, and I have this recipe for... Let me stop you right there, he interrupted, holding up his hand. Do you have any business experience? Well, no, but I've been working at Peterson's grocery for 3 years, and Any college degree? Mrs. Williams asked, not even looking up from her computer. No, ma'am. I couldn't afford any collateral, Mr. Kent jumped in. Property, investments, stocks. My heart sank. Just my grandmother's old jewelry and some savings. The 3 of them exchanged looks, and then, I kid you not, they started laughing. Not just little chuckles, but full-on belly laughs like I just told the funniest joke they'd ever heard. Oh, honey, Mrs. Williams said, wiping her eyes, this is precious. You think you can just waltz in here with no experience, no education, no collateral, and we'll just hand you $50,000? Actually, I said quietly, I was asking for $25,000. This made them laugh even harder. Mr. Harrison was practically falling out of his chair. $25,000 for a bakery in this economy. Listen, sweetie, Mr. Kent said, his voice dripping with fake kindness. Why don't you stick to what you know? Maybe ask Peterson's if they need more help in the deli section. Leave the business world to people who actually understand it.
It felt my face burn with embarrassment. My eyes started to water, but I was determined not to cry in front of these people. "But my business plan," I said. "Your business plan?" Mrs. Williams grabbed my folder and flipped through it like it was a comic book. "This is just a bunch of recipes and wishful thinking. Where are your market projections, your financial forecast, your competitive analysis?" I researched everything online, and "Online research," Mr. Harrison snorted. "That's rich. Do you know how many online entrepreneurs we see every week? They all think they're the next big thing, and they all fail within 6 months." "Ma'am," I said, standing up and reaching for my folder, "I understand if you can't approve the loan, but..." "Can't approve it?" Mrs. Williams held onto my folder. "Honey, we wouldn't approve it if you were asking for $5. This isn't a loan application, it's a fantasy." Mr. Kent leaned forward. "Let me give you some free advice. Go back to school, get a degree, work for someone else for about 10 years, and then maybe, and I mean maybe, you'll be ready to think about owning a business." "But people love my baking," I said, my voice getting stronger. "I've been selling cookies and cakes to my neighbors, and they always ask for more." "Neighbors buying cookies is not a business model. It's a hobby. There's a difference." Mrs. Williams finally handed me my folder, but not before making a show of dusting off her hands. "Look, Maya, can I call you Maya? You seem like a sweet girl, but banking is about facts, not feelings. And the fact is, you're not ready for this kind of responsibility." I took my folder and headed for the door, my cheeks burning with shame. But just as I reached for the handle, I heard Mr. Kent say something that stopped me cold. "Can you believe that?" he said to his colleagues. "Rodriguez. Wasn't there a cleaning lady here years ago with that name? Old Maria Rodriguez?"
My blood turned to ice. That was my grandmother. "Oh, yes," Mrs. Williams exclaimed. "She used to empty our trash cans. Sweet old lady, but not too bright, always talking about her granddaughter who was going to be somebody special someday." They all laughed again, and I felt something break inside me. Not just my heart, my whole spirit. "Looks like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree," Mr. Harrison said. "From cleaning lady to cookie seller. At least she's staying in her lane." I walked out of that bank with my head held high. But the moment I got to my car, I broke down. I cried for my grandmother, who had worked so hard to give me a better life. I cried for my dreams, which felt more impossible than ever. And I cried for myself because I believed what they said about me. But you know what? Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is having someone tell you that you can't do something, because it lights a fire in you that you didn't even know existed. I went home that night and made a decision. I wasn't going to let those people be right about me. I was going to prove them wrong, even if it killed me. The next morning, I called my boss at Peterson's Grocery and asked for extra shifts. I started working 60 hours a week, saving every penny I could. I also started a small catering business on the side, making cakes and cookies for parties and events. My chocolate chip cookies became famous in 3 neighborhoods. A year later, I had my own food truck. People would line up for blocks to buy my pastries. I was featured in the local newspaper as Young Entrepreneur of the Month. But I wasn't satisfied. I kept learning, kept growing, kept saving. I hired employees, I expanded my menu, I started catering weddings and corporate events. My little bakery business turned into a full-blown catering company. 2 years after that awful day at the bank, I had enough money to open my first brick-and-mortar bakery. It was small, but it was mine. And it was successful, so successful, that I was able to open a second location within 6 months. But success wasn't enough for me anymore. I wanted justice. I wanted those people at First National Bank to eat their words, preferably with a side of humble pie.
So I started studying finance and banking, just like I had studied baking and business. I learned about investments, about acquiring companies, about the stock market. I made friends with people who knew about these things, and I paid attention to every word they said. And then one day, I got a phone call that changed everything. "Miss Rodriguez," the voice said. "This is James Peterson from Peterson Investment Group. We've been following your business growth and we're interested in discussing an investment opportunity with you." It turns out that Mr. Peterson, who owned the grocery store where I used to work, had been watching my success. He was impressed by how I built my business from nothing, and he wanted to partner with me on something bigger. "I'm looking to diversify my portfolio," he explained during our meeting. "I think you have the vision and the drive to help me acquire a few struggling businesses in the area." My heart nearly stopped when he mentioned the first business on his list. "The bank?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes," he said. "It's been having financial difficulties for the past year. Poor management, bad loans, declining customer satisfaction. The parent company is looking to sell it off. I think with the right leadership, it could be turned around." I knew this was my chance. "Mr. Peterson, I'm very interested in this opportunity, but I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to be the primary owner. I want my name on the deed." He looked surprised. "That's a big responsibility, Maya. Are you sure you're ready for that?" I thought about my grandmother, about that awful day 3 years ago, about all the nights I'd whipped until my hands bled. "I'm ready," I said. It took 6 months of paperwork, negotiations, and legal meetings, but finally the day came. I was now the proud owner of First National Bank of Millbrook. My first day as the new owner, I walked into that same marble lobby where I'd been humiliated 3 years earlier. Except this time, I was wearing a designer suit and carrying a briefcase full of plans for the bank's future. The first person I wanted to see was Mrs. Patricia Williams. I found her in that same glass office, typing away at a computer. "Mrs. Williams," I said, knocking on her door frame. She looked up and I could see her trying to figure out who I was. "Yes, can I help you?" "I'm Maya Rodriguez, the new owner of this bank. I wanted to introduce myself." The color drained from her face. "Maya Rodriguez? That's right. I believe we've met before." She started to stammer. I'm not sure I remember."
"Oh, you remember," I said, sitting down in the same chair where I'd been humiliated. 3 years ago, I came here asking for a loan to start my bakery. You and your colleagues found it very amusing." I could see her hands shaking as she reached for her coffee cup. "Miss Rodriguez, if there was any misunderstanding." "There was no misunderstanding," I said calmly. "You made it very clear that people like me, people like my grandmother, weren't worthy of your respect or your bank services." Mr. Harrison walked by the office just then, and I called out to him, "Mr. Harrison, could you join us for a moment?" He walked in with that same arrogant smile, but it disappeared the moment he saw me. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" "We do indeed. I'm Maya Rodriguez, your new boss." I watched his face go through about 15 different emotions before settling on pure panic. You're the new owner?" "That's right, and you're the branch manager who told me to stick to what I know and leave the business world to people who actually understand it." He started to sweat. "Miss Rodriguez, I think there might be some confusion." "The only confusion," I said, standing up, "is how you three managed to keep your jobs for this long with such poor judgment." Mr. Kent appeared in the doorway, probably wondering what all the commotion was about. When he saw me, his face went white as a sheet. "Ah, Mr. Kent, just the person I wanted to see. The business development specialist who advised me to go back to school for 10 years before thinking about owning a business." I didn't, that is," he stammered.
Relax, I said, opening my briefcase. I'm not here to fire you. Well, not all of you anyway. I pulled out 3 folders, one for each of them. These are your new job descriptions. Mrs. Williams, you'll be working in our new customer service department, helping people who might not fit the traditional mold of a bank customer. You'll be especially focused on helping small business owners get their start. She's mouth opened, but I'm a senior loan officer. Not anymore, I said cheerfully. Mr. Harrison, you'll be working in our community outreach program. He'll be visiting local schools and community centers, teaching financial literacy to underserved populations. But I'm the branch manager, he protested. Not anymore, I repeated. And Mr. Kent, you'll be working in our small business development program. You'll be helping people like me, people with dreams but no traditional qualifications, figure out how to make their businesses successful. This is outrageous, Mrs. Williams said, standing up. You can't just come in here and... Actually, I can, I said, pulling out another document. This is a copy of my ownership papers. I own this bank now. Every marble tile, every chandelier, every pencil in every desk drawer. You work for me. The 3 of them stood there in stunned silence. Finally, Mr. Harrison found his voice. And if we refuse, then you're welcome to find employment elsewhere. But I should mention that your severance packages would be quite generous, and your new positions come with raises. That got their attention. Raises? Mr. Kent asked. That's right. See, I believe in paying people well for good work, and I believe in second chances. You 3 made a mistake when you judged me based on my background instead of my potential. Now you have a chance to make up for that mistake by helping other people achieve their dreams. I closed my briefcase and headed for the door. Oh, and one more thing. I'll be renovating this bank to make it more welcoming to all kinds of customers. The first change will be in the lobby. I'm installing a display case featuring local businesses that got their start with loans from our bank. What businesses? Mrs. Williams asked. I smiled. Well, Maya's Bakery and Catering will be the first one featured, along with the story of how a grocery store clerk with no college degree and no business experience built a successful company from scratch. As I walked out of that office, I heard Mr. Kent whisper to his colleagues, "Did she just say Maya's Bakery? That's the company that's been in the news for winning the State Small Business Award. The same company that just signed a contract to cater the governor's inauguration," Mrs. Williams added weakly. "That's right, the same company you refused to invest in 3 years ago. The same company that's now worth more than this bank was when I bought it." I left them sitting there, probably wondering how they'd missed the signs, how they let their prejudices blind them to what was right in front of them. But you know what? I wasn't angry anymore. I was proud of what I'd accomplished, proud of the people I'd helped along the way, and proud of the person I'd become. Over the next few months, I transformed that bank. We started offering microloans to small business owners. We created financial literacy programs for young people. We hired loan officers who understood that potential doesn't always come with a college degree. And yes, Mrs. Williams, Mr. Harrison, and Mr. Kent all stayed. They learned to do their new jobs well, and they learned to treat every customer with respect, regardless of their background. The best part? 6 months after I took over, the bank was more profitable than it had been in years. Turns out, when you invest in people's dreams instead of just your credit scores, good things happen. I still run my bakery and catering business, but now I spend time helping other people get their start. Every week, I approve loans for dreamers who might not look like traditional business owners on paper, but who have the heart and determination to succeed.
And sometimes when I'm sitting in that same office where I was once humiliated, I think about my grandmother. I think about how proud she would be to see her granddaughter not just succeeding, but lifting others up along the way. Last week, a young man came into the bank asking for a loan to start a landscaping business. He had no college degree, no business experience, and no collateral, just a dream and a willingness to work hard. Mrs. Williams was the loan officer who handled his application. I watched through the glass as she listened to his story, asked thoughtful questions, and helped him refine his business plan. When she approved his loan, his face lit up like Christmas morning. After he left, he came to my office. She said, "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For giving me a chance to be better than I was." I looked out at the busy lobby full of people from all walks of life, all working towards their dreams. That's what second chances are for. You know what I learned from all of this? Success isn't just about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about believing in your dreams even when nobody else does. It's about working so hard that luck has no choice but to find you. And sometimes, just sometimes, the best revenge really is massive success. So if you're reading this and you've got a dream that people are laughing at, remember my story. Remember that every no is just redirecting you toward your yes. Remember that your background doesn't determine your future. Your determination does. Because 3 years ago, I was just a grocery store clerk with a crazy dream about baking cookies. Today, I own the bank that rejected me. I run a successful business empire, and I've helped dozens of other dreamers get their start. If I can do it, so can you. The only question is, what are you willing to do to make your dreams come true? Trust me, the view from the top is worth every step it takes to get there.